After a year of virtual pageants and festivals, many events are coming back live this summer. That includes a celebration of perhaps Minnesota's most famous Prairie family in Walnut Grove. In this week's Finding Minnesota, John Lortzen gives us an inside look at the Laura Ingalls Wilder Museum.
To this day, there are still parts of Redwood County that human hands have never touched. Creeks and wooded areas pioneers passed by. Many continued west, but some decided to stay.
Ma, Pa, Mary, Laura, Carrie.
You had 5 people crammed in here.
Correct.
Can you imagine doing that during the pandemic?
No.
This 10 by 12 dirt dugout is a replica of Laura Ingalls' first home in Walnut Grove. It's one of 10 buildings at the museum named after her. The site got its start in the mid-70s when a TV show called Little House on the Prairie forced its hand.
The series was getting started, had started in the fall of '74, and basically we had to build something because the people were coming.
Were they ever? Each year, about 10,000 visitors from around the world travel to this tiny town of 871. They can see the original site of the Ingalls home on the banks of Plum Creek, which is also the name of Laura's book the TV show is based on.
Laura didn't start writing her books until she was 65 years old.
There's an old chapel, an early settler's home, and a schoolhouse where Mrs. Beadle would have taught, and Laura, Mary, and Nellie Olson would have listened. Nellie Olson was just a bit of an instigator, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
It was a simpler time, but harder living.
The things that they went through, I don't think most of us would survive.
The trials and tribulations of prairie life are highlighted during the Laura Ingalls Wilder Pageant in July. Bill Richards is the president, and he's tasked with preparing the show for a worldwide audience.
We have people that fly in from France to see the show. Japan is big. We have people on our Facebook now, Malaysia, Australia.
The renewed popularity is thanks in part to a pandemic that had people pioneering for entertainment.
Parents last year, they watched the whole show, like all the seasons, all the episodes, never missed one.
You have bonnets on, you have the dresses, and you have the Skechers sneakers, which is what they would have worn back then as well. Alyssa Stillman drove from the Washington, D.C. area and picked up her sister Michelle in Chicago. They then headed west to Walnut Grove.
She is doing this because I'm an enormous Little House on the Prairie fan, and it's sort of been a lifelong dream to come here. It's nice to get lost in the fantasy of what was.
And they're far from alone. At this museum, it's safe to say the olden days are new again.
It's a family place, and I think people are really trying to get back to that family time again, spending time together, doing things together, and this is something for everybody.
In Walnut Grove, John Lortzen, WCCO 4 News.
The Wilder Pageant is held the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th weekends in July. On the 5th weekend, they have a bluegrass festival.